Welcome to Creepytalks, where hidden fears come alive through chilling horror tales. Dare to listen as every story pulls you deeper into the darkness. Story 1. The Last Room. The day I moved into the old brick townhouse, the air felt wrong, heavy, as though something unseen pressed against my chest. The building had 4 units, quiet enough, with faded green shutters and cracked stone steps. I chose Unit 3 because the rent was cheaper than anything else in the area. The landlord, a thin man with nervous eyes, didn't talk much. He handed me the keys, signed the papers quickly, and hurried away like he couldn't wait to be rid of me. The place inside was normal enough at first. Hardwood floors, narrow windows, an old staircase. But as I walked through the hall, I noticed something odd. One door upstairs was heavily bolt-locked from the outside. Not one lock. 4. Metal latches, thick enough to keep someone, or something, from getting out. There was no mention of this room in the listing, and I didn't ask. My tired brain assumed it was storage. Maybe the landlord kept things inside. Still, why so many locks? I unpacked, set my mattress on the floor, and tried not to think about it. But that night, while lying in the dark, I heard something upstairs. Footsteps. Slow, measured, like someone pacing. Creak, creak, creak. I sat up immediately. No one else lived there. The sound stopped. Then a whisper leaked downward, soft but unmistakable. "Help, please." It sounded like a girl. My stomach tightened. Maybe another tenant had a kid locked in there. The thought made me feel sick. I grabbed a flashlight and crept up the stairs. The whispers stopped. Everything was silent. I reached the locked room. The flashlight flicked weakly against the old wood. I tried the handle. Ice cold. "Hello?" I whispered. Silence. I stared at those 4 steel latches. Something told me they weren't meant to keep someone inside. They were meant to keep something from getting out. I stepped away, heart racing. That night I didn't sleep. Morning brought sunlight and a false sense of safety. I pushed the memory aside and went about my day. But when I returned that evening, my stomach dropped. Every lock on the upstairs door was open, not broken, not damaged, just neatly unfastened. I know I didn't do that. I called the landlord immediately. He sounded panicked when I mentioned the room. "You didn't open it, did you?" he asked. "No, I didn't touch it." "Relock everything, right now, all 4, and don't open that door. Ever. What's inside?" He was silent for a long moment. Finally he whispered, "Just do as I said." Then he hung up. I felt chills crawl down my spine. I refastened the locks, but the metal felt loose in my hands, as if the wood underneath had softened. I didn't like touching the door. I felt watched. The second night, scratching came from behind the locked door. Not animal scratching, human-like, nails dragging across wood. I covered my ears. It didn't help. The whisper returned. "Let me out. Please." The voice trembled, like whoever spoke was in pain. I wanted to help, but the landlord's voice echoed in my mind. "Don't ever open that door." The scratching grew louder. I backed away, ran to my bedroom, and slammed the door. All night I listened, scratching, pacing, crying. Just before dawn, silence. When sunlight spilled through my window, I dared to look. I climbed the stairs, knees shaking. All 4 locks were open again, and deep gouges now raked across the wood, as if fingernails had clawed from the inside. I called the landlord again. He didn't pick up. I'd had enough. I was leaving. But when I tried to open the front door, I froze. It wouldn't budge, no matter how hard I pulled. Something whispered from behind me, "Don't leave." I spun. Nothing was there. The house felt colder. Somehow the lights dimmed even though they were still on. Breathing fast, I grabbed my phone and realized the screen was dead black. I tried the switch, the charger, everything. Nothing worked. The house hummed softly like it was alive. Footsteps sounded again upstairs. Slow, heavy. But this time they weren't pacing behind the locked door. They were walking toward the staircase. Creak, creak, creak. My throat tightened. I backed toward the kitchen. I looked up. A shadow stood at the top of the stairs. Not fully human. Its arms hung wrong, longer than they should be. Its head tilted downward, hair obscuring its face. But I could see its feet, bare, bruised. It whispered again. "Help me." The voice was small, but the shape was not. I froze. The figure took a step down the stairs, then another. The creaking grew louder, the house groaning with every step it took. I ducked behind the kitchen counter, too terrified to breathe. I peeked over the edge. Nothing on the stairs. Silence. Then, the basement door beside me slowly creaked open on its own. I didn't want to look. I knew something waited there. But some force pulled my attention. Inside the darkness, two pale hands clutched the steps, nails broken, skin torn. A head peeked up, face hidden beneath matted hair. Then a low voice, deeper and broken. "Please, let me out." The voice came from the thing in the basement, but upstairs, from behind the locked door, the girl's voice whispered too, clearer now. "Don't let it out." Two voices, one pleading, one warning. My blood ran cold. "What are you?" I whispered. The thing on the basement stairs lifted its head. A wide smile, too wide, split beneath hair. "Hungry." I bolted up the stairs, past the locked door, into my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I pressed my back against the wood, heart shaking. The house exploded with noise. Footsteps, scratching, walls shaking. The whispers grew louder. "Let me out! Hungry! Help me! Let me out!" I covered my ears and screamed. The door shook violently, as if something pounded from the other side. Then, silence. Hours passed. Dawn light crept into the room. I gathered my courage and stepped into the hallway. All four locks were fastened tight again. No scratches, no noise, like nothing happened. I tried the front door. It opened easily. My phone powered on. I ran. I never returned. I called the landlord later, but the number was disconnected. A month later, the building was condemned. No explanation. People say no one lives in Unit 3 anymore. Some nights, though, neighbors swear they hear someone pacing upstairs, and if you walk past the house and listen carefully, you might hear a whisper through the bricks. "Help me." Story 2. The Girl in the Mirror. When I was 18, I worked weekends at a small antique shop on the edge of town. The place looked like an old funeral parlor. Dusty windows, faded wallpaper, the kind of building whose floorboards seemed to sigh when stepped on. The shop owner, Mr. Carter, was quiet. Friendly enough, but distant. He gave me simple tasks: dusting, sorting old books, moving furniture. I spent most of my time alone, especially in the back room where unsold pieces gathered in crooked piles. The only thing I hated was the mirror. It was 7 feet tall, framed in dark oak, carved with twisting shapes that looked almost alive. The glass had a faint silver tint, like fog trapped inside it. It disturbed me from the first day. Something about it felt wrong. I would catch it reflecting strange shadows, even when no one stood near it. Sometimes when I passed by, I felt cold air rolling from its surface, like an open freezer. One Saturday afternoon, while dusting shelves, I felt someone staring. I turned and froze. A girl stood in the mirror. I should have seen my own reflection, but no, the girl in the glass was not me. Her hair was long and stringy, hanging like wet rope. Her skin was pale and bruised. She wore an old-fashioned white dress stained dark at the hem. Her eyes, wide, hollow, seemed to pull me into the mirror. I blinked. Gone. My heart hammered. I stepped backward, knocking a wooden box off a table. The crash startled me back to reality. I told myself it was a trick of the light. The mirror was old, maybe warped. Still, when I passed it again later, I kept my head down, refusing to look. But the mirror wanted attention, because that night I dreamed of her. She stood in my bedroom, inches from my face. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. Her cold hand touched my cheek, and her whisper curled into my ear. "Let me in." I woke screaming. My room was empty, but I could feel her presence. 2 days passed. I avoided the mirror as much as possible, but every time I walked by, I could feel her watching. I complained to Mr. Carter. "There's something wrong with that mirror." He paused his paperwork, staring at me with unreadable eyes. "What did you see?" "A girl." His face went pale. He stood slowly and walked toward the back room. "Don't talk to her," he said quietly. "Whatever you see, don't answer." Then he left the room. That Wednesday, I was again working alone. The storm outside rattled the windows, candles flickering from the wind sneaking through the walls. I tried to ignore the mirror. I buried myself in old books. But then, tap, tap, a soft knocking from the mirror. I turned. The girl stood there, clearer this time, as if the glass were water and she just beneath the surface. Her hair clung to her face like seaweed. Her lips trembled. "You hear me," she whispered. I backed away, my throat squeezed tight. She lifted her hand, pressing her palm against the inside of the mirror. The glass rippled, like water touched by fingertips. She didn't blink, not once. "Please, help me." Her voice was soft, but her eyes were desperate, begging, pleading, soulless. I shook my head. My pulse raced. "No," I whispered, but she heard. She frowned, slow and unnatural. The corners of her lips stretched farther than they should, ripping her skin as they widened. Her teeth were black. Then she reached toward me. Her hand pushed through the mirror. Her fingers, pale and dripping, emerged into the room. I screamed, stumbling back. She crawled farther, her arm sliding out, then her shoulder. The room grew cold enough to burn. Her breath rattled like bone. I ran. But before I reached the door, the lights died, darkness swallowing everything. Behind me, I heard her dragging herself out, slow, wet, limbs cracking. I slammed into a shelf, books falling around me. My flashlight shook in my hands as I turned it on. She stood only a few feet away. Her body had fully emerged from the mirror. Her hair dripped with some black liquid that stained the floor. Her feet were bare, ankles twisted as if broken. Her eyes, both hollow and furious, locked onto mine. "Let me in," she shrieked. I screamed and ran to the front. The shop door wouldn't budge, like something pushed against the other side. I shrieked again, yanking the handle until my skin split. Behind me, she crawled across the floor, joints bending wrong, head jerking. "Let me in," she echoed, voice fractured. I don't understand," I cried. She froze. Slowly, terribly, she stood, her neck tilted, bones cracking, face inches from mine. "You saw me." Her breath reeked of rot. "You heard me." Her fingers traced my arm, burning my skin like ice. "Let me live. I want your life." She smiled, jagged teeth shining. Then, bang! The mirror exploded, glass raining like ice shards. The girl screamed, a chilling wail that pierced my skull. A force yanked her backward, dragging her toward the shattered frame. "No!" she shrieked. "No!" Invisible hands pulled her into the splintered glass. Her nails carved deep grooves in the wood as she clawed. "Help me!" And then she was gone. Silence. Only the mirror frame remained, broken, empty. The shop fell still. The front door opened easily. I ran outside and didn't stop. The next day I returned, stupid curiosity pulling me back. The shop was quiet. Dust settled over broken glass. I found Mr. Carter sitting in his office, hands shaking. He looked at me with hollow eyes. "You talked to her." I couldn't speak. He nodded slowly. "I warned you. She reaches those who listen." He stood and walked into the back room, sweeping glass into a box. I watched as he lifted the frame. The mirror surface had reformed, patchy but whole. "She always comes back," he whispered. "She needs someone to take her place." The glass shimmered. At first I thought it was my reflection, but it wasn't. The girl stared out, smiling at me. I stumbled away, but she raised her hand, pressing it against the glass, right over where my reflection should have been. "Soon," she whispered. I quit that day. Years have passed since then. I moved far away, but the mirror followed me, in dreams, in dark reflections, in windows at night. Sometimes I see her staring from the corner of my eye. Sometimes I hear her whisper, and every mirror I face, no matter where I go, I never see my reflection anymore. Just hers, watching, waiting. Story 3. The End of the Line. I've spent most of my life taking the night bus. It's cheaper, quieter, and I like the silence. I lived alone, worked late, and the bus became a routine. Same time, same seat, same empty roads. One winter, something changed. The route added an unfamiliar stop. None of us remembered it being there. An old bench under a flickering street lamp with no nearby buildings. Just trees. Thick, black, suffocating trees. I asked the driver about it the first night it appeared. He didn't answer. He just frowned, not confused but afraid. The stop wasn't on any map, yet every night, the bus still slowed there. And that's where the trouble started. The first time I noticed him was past 1 a.m. I sat near the middle, my usual spot. The bus was nearly empty except for an older woman knitting and a guy in headphones. When we reached the new stop, the bus paused longer than usual. 10 seconds, maybe 15. Then someone got on. He looked normal enough, tall, thin, wearing a dark coat. But there was something wrong about him. I can't say what. He didn't look up, didn't speak, just walked straight to the very back and sat. Nobody acknowledged him, not even the driver. What bothered me most was the cold. As soon as he stepped inside, I felt temperature drop sharply, like winter wind cutting straight through skin. My breath fogged. I hugged myself, shivering. The bus moved on. Every night after that, the strange man boarded at the same stop and always went to the same seat in the back. He never moved, never spoke, never blinked, just sat there staring forward. He never got off at any stop. Eventually, people started avoiding the bus entirely. Fewer passengers every night. The old woman stopped coming. The headphone guy, too. Soon it was mostly just me, the driver, and him. One night, curiosity overpowered fear. When he boarded, I turned to look at him directly. His head turned toward me. Slowly, like his neck was stiff. His face was pale. His eyes, there were no eyes, just hollow black sockets. My heart jerked. I snapped my gaze forward, pretending I hadn't seen anything. The cold deepened. The bus lights flickered. Then I heard it. A whisper. So soft I thought I imagined it. "Do you see me?" My throat tightened. I didn't answer. "Do you see me?" The whisper came again. Closer. I clenched my eyes shut. The voice pressed into my ear, ice cold. Say you don't. I shook my head, trembling. I don't see you, I whispered. Silence returned. The light steadied. I didn't dare look back. The next night I considered taking a cab, but habit and stupidity put me back on that same bus. When we reached the cursed stop, the trees seemed to lean toward us, branches scraping the windows. The man boarded. Same seat, same cold. I kept my head down, but tonight someone else got on after him. A young woman shivering badly, no coat, barefoot. She looked lost. She sat 2 rows behind me, constantly glancing around. When the bus moved on, she leaned forward, whispering shakily, "Do you see him?" I kept my voice low. "I'm not supposed to answer." Her eyes widened. "You heard him too." I nodded. "I don't think he sees me," she whispered, "but he knows I see him." We sat in fearful silence as the bus rattled along the deserted road. Streetlights flickered by like dying stars. The woman hugged herself tightly. "He followed me," she said. "I thought I escaped." My voice shook. "From where?" She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, "Don't look at him." I tried not to, but then I felt it, something brushing against my neck. Cold, damp. My blood froze. The thing in the back was standing, walking forward. Slow, scraping footsteps echoed through the aisle. Tap, tap, tap. I stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. The girl squeezed her eyes shut, whispering prayers. The footsteps stopped behind us. Then, a wet breath on my shoulder. "Do you see me? Now?" I bit my tongue to stop myself from screaming. The girl whispered shakily, "Say you don't." My lips trembled. "I don't see you." Silence. Then the breaths faded. The cold retreated. I dared to open one eye. He was gone. The girl sobbed with relief, but she spoke too soon. A hand shot from beneath her seat and dragged her downward. She screamed, a raw, terrible sound, clawing at the seat, at the floor, at anything. Her nails tore, skin split. I grabbed her wrist, pulling with everything I had. She shrieked, "Don't let him take me! Please!" Her body jerked violently as something yanked from below. Her fingers slipped from mine. I caught one last look, her eyes wide with terror, before she was ripped into the darkness beneath the bus. Her scream cut off. Silence. I scrambled from my seat, shaking uncontrollably. The floor where she'd vanished was perfectly normal. No hole, no blood. Like she'd never been. The bus rolled on. I looked around desperately. The driver hadn't reacted. Could he not hear? Not see? Or did he know? At the next stop, I jumped off before the doors fully opened. Snow stung my face as I fled into the night. The bus pulled away without pause, vanishing down the road. I never took that road again. For weeks, I avoided buses, but sometimes when I walk past the old route, I still see the stop, the same flickering lamp, the same lifeless trees, and sometimes, if I stare too long, a figure sits waiting on the bench, tall, thin, eyes missing, watching, waiting for me to look. And every now and then, from deep inside the woods, I hear a girl screaming. Story 4. The House That Followed. I never believed a place could follow someone until the house found me again. When I was 12, my parents bought a small place at the end of a quiet street. It wasn't fancy, but it felt old. Too old. The wallpaper peeled in long strips. The floorboards groaned beneath every step, and the attic door always hung slightly open, no matter how many times we shut it. My mother said houses have personalities. If that's true, this one hated us. It began when the basement door started opening at night. I'd hear the creak from my bedroom, then the soft padding of feet on the stairs, slow and careful. My parents swore it was the wind, but wind doesn't climb stairs. One night I stayed awake to watch. The door trembled, then swung open. Darkness filled the hallway like smoke. I waited for something to emerge, but nothing did. Instead, I heard whispering, right behind my door, like someone knelt there, speaking in a language older than breathing. I pulled my blankets over my head until dawn. After that, I avoided the basement, until the night I saw him. It was early winter, cold enough that our breath lingered in the air. I'd fallen asleep in the living room. Around 3 a.m., a creaking noise woke me. The basement door stood open again, and someone stood at the bottom of the stairs. He was tall, too tall, bones jutting beneath the stretched skin. His head cocked unnaturally to one side, like his neck was broken long ago and never healed. His face was blurry, like heat haze, but his mouth, too wide, split nearly to the ears. His voice rasped, "Come down." I couldn't move, couldn't scream. His long fingers curled around the railing as he climbed. One step, another, another. I backed away, but the darkness behind him spread like ink, swallowing the basement, then the stairs, then half the room. As he reached the top, only his face was visible, smiling. Then he vanished. The basement door slammed shut so hard it shook the house. I screamed until my parents came running. We moved 6 days later. For years, I believed we were safe, far away from the house, the whispers, the basement. I was wrong. The first time I saw that door again, I was in college. My roommate and I had rented a small apartment. It wasn't nice, but it worked. One night, I walked down the hallway and froze. There was a door where there hadn't been one before. Old wood, rusty knob, peeling white paint. I recognized it immediately. The basement door. No, impossible. I blinked, backing away. My roommate laughed when I told him, "You're dreaming. We don't even have a basement." The next morning, the door was gone. Just wall. But that night, it returned. I heard whispering through it. The same language, the same sick rhythm, calling my name beneath it. I didn't sleep. A week later, my roommate vanished. His belongings remained. His phone lay on his bed, but no sign of him. I knew where he'd gone, where he'd been taken. The house wanted me. It had always wanted me. I moved again. My next place was a studio on the top floor of an old red brick building. I checked every corner before moving in. No basement, no strange doors, nothing. For a week it was quiet. Then, one night while washing dishes, I heard it, a slow, familiar creak. Against every instinct, I turned. There, across the room, stood the basement door. My breath collapsed inside me. I backed into a corner, shaking. The knob twisted, slowly, painfully. The door cracked open. Darkness spilled out, crawling across the floor like smoke. I turned to run, but the apartment door was gone. Only walls, no way out. The basement door opened wider, swallowing the room in shadows. Something moved in the black, bones scraping along the floor. I grabbed a lamp and swung it wildly. It passed right through the darkness like it was only air. But something inside laughed. Then a voice whispered, "You came back." A hand reached out, long, pale, dripping black. Then another. A head leaned through the doorway, neck bent, smile too wide. "You never left," I screamed, hurling anything I could find. Useless. The shadows wrapped around him, pulling his form into the room. I closed my eyes and ran blindly, straight into the darkness. Something grabbed my ankle, cold, rotting. I kicked, screamed, clawed. A shriek filled my head, so loud I thought my skull would split. I tore free, stumbling backward. I felt the air shift, and suddenly I was outside, on the street. The building behind me was on fire, orange light spilling from shattered windows. People ran, shouting. Sirens wailed. I stared as smoke swallowed the night sky. My apartment was burned to ash. But I knew. It wasn't gone. It escaped with me. Years passed. I never stayed in one place long. I avoided hallways, old wood, dark corners. Every time I moved, I checked every wall. Every night I feared sleep, because sometimes as I drift into unconsciousness, I hear it. Creak, 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 growing closer. One night, in yet another new apartment, I woke to find the walls trembling. The air went cold. I stood slowly, dread choking me. Across the room, the basement door waited, open. Inside the darkness, something moved. Something tall, smiling. "You can't run." I pressed my back against the wall. "No." It stepped out, bones cracking, mouth widening. "You live in me." I stumbled, falling onto my hands. The thing approached, its limbs bending backward like broken branches. "You always have." I crawled toward the window, but it melted into darkness. No escape, no light, only black. The creature bent over me, face inches from mine. "You belong here." I screamed, and then I woke in a new room. Different walls, different air. My throat burned. My limbs ached. I couldn't remember how I got there. On the far side of the room, a door stood. Old wood, peeling white paint, rusty knob, the basement door. It always finds me. It will always find me. And someday, when I'm too tired to run, I will finally go inside. And I know, if I do, I'll never come back. Story 5. The Dead Room. When I was 22, I worked as a night custodian in a hospital. It was an old building, full of dim hallways that smelled like disinfectant and sadness. Most nights were quiet. Too quiet. The only sounds were the hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional rolling of a stretcher down the hall. I worked alone from midnight to 7 a.m. I learned quickly that the hospital was different at night. Things changed. Lights flickered even when the wiring worked fine. You'd hear footsteps in empty halls. Doors opened when no one was there. But the worst place was the 4th floor, particularly room 413. Everyone avoided it. The nurses whispered about it, but no one said anything directly. They only said, "Don't go inside." If it calls you, ignore it. If the door's open, close it. But never, ever open it yourself. I should have listened. My first week on the job, I passed by room 413. Its door was always closed. No window, no label, just a blank room number. But I always felt watch when I was near it. The air was colder. The hallway seemed darker. My hands shook every time my cart rolled past. After a while, I started avoiding the 4th floor altogether. But some nights I didn't have a choice. My rounds required it. One night near 2 a.m., I reached the 4th floor. The lights flickered like dying candles. I pushed my cart down the hall, keeping my eyes on the floor. Then I heard it, knocking, from room 413. Slow, soft rhythmic, 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks. My entire body went cold. I knew the room was supposed to be empty. I backed away, trying to stay calm. But the knocking grew faster, more desperate. Then, a voice. "Hello?" I froze. The voice sounded like a young woman, shaky, scared. "Please, is anyone out there? I can't see." My heart pounded. Part of me wanted to help, but every warning I'd heard screamed in my head. "Don't open the door. Don't speak. Don't listen." I backed away slowly. "Please," the voice whispered. "I'm hurt. I need help." Her words twisted something in me. What if she was real? What if someone was trapped? The voice broke into sobbing. I'm so alone. I squeezed my eyes shut and stumbled away, nearly running down the hall. That night, I pretended I never heard it. A week passed without incident, but each night, room 413 pulled at my mind. I couldn't forget the voice. Then one shift, when I reached the fourth floor, room 413's door was open, just barely, a dark sliver of space. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. Someone whispered from inside. Come in. I stepped back. No. The darkness inside seemed to pulse, alive. I could see nothing past the doorway. No bed, no walls, just black. The whisper came again, closer. Please, help me. I slammed the door shut. The whisper stopped. I ran. The next night I asked a nurse named Emily about the room. She tensed, glancing around before speaking. No one goes in there, she whispered. No one. Ever why? I asked. She took a shaky breath. 20 years ago, a patient died in that room. No family, no name. She was found dead, no cause, just gone. They cleared the room. But the next night, she came back. Came back? Emily nodded. A nurse heard crying from inside. When she opened the door, the dead woman was lying on the bed again. My skin crawled. After that, anyone who entered room 413 never came out the same. Some died, some vanished. I swallowed hard. Why not just seal it off? They tried. Her eyes filled with fear. But the room always comes back. I stared. What do you mean? Even when the room number is changed, even when they wall it up, it reappears somewhere else inside the hospital. She trembled. It wants someone. I felt sick. Who? She looked at me with hollow eyes. Whoever hears it. After that conversation, I avoided the fourth floor entirely, but strange things began happening elsewhere. One night while cleaning the second floor, I saw a woman standing down the hall. She wore a hospital gown stained with something dark. Her hair hung over her face. Ma'am, you're not supposed to be here. She lifted her head slightly. Her eyes were pale, empty, like she'd drowned. Then she whispered, 413. The lights went out. When they flickered back on, she was gone. I ran to the elevator, heart racing. I jabbed the button. When the doors opened, I stepped in and realized too late. I was on the fourth floor. The hallway stretched before me. The air felt heavy, like breathing smoke. Room 413 stood open. I backed into the elevator, slamming the button for the lobby. But the doors wouldn't close. Something whispered from the darkness. Come in. I shook my head violently. No. No. The air turned ice cold. My breath fogged. Then something moved inside the room. Slow footsteps approached the doorway, bare feet, dragging. The figure stepped into the hallway. It was the woman. Her hospital gown hung in tatters. Black veins crawled beneath her skin. Her head tilted unnaturally. She took a step toward me. Please, help me. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. I slammed the close button over and over. But the elevator didn't move. She was halfway down the hall. Please, she begged. Her voice changed, deeper, layered, like more than one person speaking. I'm so cold. She was almost at the elevator. Her hands lifted, fingers stretched, broken. I screamed. The doors suddenly slid shut. The elevator shot downward with violent force. I collapsed to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. The next night, I was reassigned to the basement, away from the fourth floor. I thought I was safe. I was wrong. At 3 a.m., while cleaning, I turned a corner and froze. Room 413 was there, in the basement. Same door, same number, same darkness. It followed me. My legs nearly gave out. I backed away slowly. The knob turned. The door creaked open. Blackness spilled out. Not smoke, not shadow. Something thicker, heavy. I ran. But no matter where I went, the hallways twisted, looped, bent. Every turn ended at room 413. Open, waiting. My breathing turned frantic. My heart felt like it would burst. Then the crying began, soft, desperate, coming from everywhere. Please, I'm alone. I'm cold. I covered my ears. Stop! The crying ceased. Silence, then a whisper behind me. You heard me! I turned. The woman stood inches away. Her face was wrong, sunken, skin blue, jaw unhinged. Her hands grabbed mine, freezing cold like holding ice. Come back with me. Don't leave me here. She pulled me toward the door. I screamed, fighting, kicking. No, no! Her grip tightened. Her eyes widened, hollow and endless. I need someone. Her mouth tore wider, skin ripping, teeth extending like knives. You will stay. I grabbed a metal cart and slammed it into her. She shrieked, a sound not human, and recoiled. I bolted down the hall. The lights flickered. Room 413 vanished. I ran to the exit, burst into the cold night, and collapsed. I quit that night, moved away. I never went back. Months passed. I tried to live normally, but the fear never left. Some nights I dream of the woman, standing beside my bed, eyes empty, mouth open too wide. Please, she whispers, help me. I always wake drenched in sweat. I moved to a different city, different job. I never go near hospitals. But last week I came home late from work, exhausted. I opened my apartment door and stopped breathing. At the end of the hallway, a door, old white paint peeling, number on the front, 413. My vision blurred. I stepped back. No, no, no. The knob twisted, creak. A whisper leaked out. I found you. I ran to my bedroom, slammed the door, and shoved furniture against it. Something dragged itself across the floor outside. Slow, wet, closer. It stopped outside my room. Fingernails scraped the wood. Let me in. Silence. I didn't sleep. Morning came. I gathered what I could and left. Moved again. But yesterday, in my new place, the door was there. Same number. Same peeling paint. It always finds me. It will never stop. Because I heard her. I listened. I almost opened the door. And now, she wants me to finish what she started. I don't know how long I can run, but I know this. When I see room 413 again, I won't have the strength to resist. And when that door finally opens, she won't be the only one inside because she wants someone to take her place. And she's already chosen me.